Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video. And in today's video, I'm gonna give you guys some tips and tricks on how to edit faster in Fortnite, and just give some overall best tips and tricks when it comes to learning how to edit faster and just more efficiently in Fortnite. And before the video starts, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys drop a like on this video. It really does help me out, so make sure you guys drop a like on the video. And so starting out, there's going to be a few tips that I want to give you guys when it comes to improving your edit speed in Fortnite, and just some things you can do to work on in creative, or so when it comes to actual games, and some different ways to edit more efficiently. So starting out, one thing that you guys can do immediately that's really going to help you guys out when it comes to learning how to edit quicker is if you're in creative and you're learning how to edit faster. One thing that I would really recommend doing is when you're working on edits, you always want to try to practice doing them as fast as you can, one after the other. And what I mean by that, and that's exactly what I'm doing here, and it can be kind of challenging when you're first learning how to do it, and I messed them up quite a bit when I was working on this video, but it's definitely one of the best ways to practice your edits, is you practice going for an edit. Maybe you try to learn how to edit your stairs better, you can edit your floors better, whatever the case may be, and usually stairs are going to be one of the hardest things to learn how to edit the best. So that's one of the things that I definitely work on the most when it comes to actually working on my edits in creative. I think it goes for a lot of you guys too. I think stair edits are probably one of the hardest edits to do, and I'm gonna touch a little bit more on that later in this video. But when you're working on your edits and you really want to improve at your edit speed and just be able to edit faster, you want to do what I'm doing here, and that's just editing one after the other. So you don't want to try to go out 2 or 3 ramps or floors before you go out and do another edit. And that could be a good way to practice if you're learning like a new kind of build. But after you start to get the hang of it just a little bit, I try to recommend doing it as much as you can, as fast as you can, because this is going to be the best way to improving your edit speed as a whole. And I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks in just a minute on exactly the best way to edit your stairs. But when it comes to editing quickly, like I said, you want to be doing something like this where you're editing very fast, doing very fast motions, because when it comes to the game and you actually have to go for an edit, trust me, it's going to be very easy to do, and you're going to be able to hit your edit every single time and not choke your edits and really cause you to die, because that used to happen to me a ton. I used to choke my edits a lot, especially in the late game when it comes to scrims or maybe in arena mode, where I need to go for an edit because every single time that I'm getting ticked by the storm, I'm losing 10 HP. So I want to make sure I don't mess up any of my edits, and I make sure that I edit correctly and efficiently, so that I don't get screwed over and take a ton of storm damage and end up dying to it. And as well, it's not even the only situation editing fast can be very helpful in and save you a ton. There's definitely a lot of other situations, but the next thing I want to show you guys is the best way to edit your ramps, and exactly what you can do in order to improve the speed that you edit, and not really the speed that you edit at most, basically being able to edit as efficiently as possible. So how you have your ramp here, and the best way you can edit, and it's just something to really keep in mind every single time that you're going for a ramp edit. And as you guys can see right here, I'm trying to edit the far side of this ramp, and it's very difficult to do. And when you're on the left side, of course you want to be able to edit the right side. It wouldn't make sense to be on the left side and also edit the left side of the ramp, so of course you want to be more towards the other side. But as you can see, it's very difficult from this sort of angle to be able to get this consistently. So there's going to be one thing that you guys can do that's really going to help you guys out when it comes to efficiently editing stairs and not messing up every single time. And that's just simply, when you go for the edit on the left side, you want to be sort of towards the middle. You don't want to be all the way towards the middle of the ramp, but you want to be very close to the center, because the more center you are on your ramp, the easier it's going to be to edit that ramp. And as you guys can see, really, the more center you are, the closer you are to that side. And when you're close to that side, it's going to allow you to have a little bit more surface area when it comes to going for the edit. So it's just going to be a lot easier to do, and that's just what I would highly recommend. As you guys can see, I'm just ripping through these stair edits just because I'm so close to the center. It's going to make it so much easier to just go for the edit and just be a lot more consistent, because I really think that's the most important thing to do when it comes to editing in Fortnite. It's just being very consistent, because you don't have to be the fastest editor in the world, but if you're very consistent and constantly getting the right edits and not messing up all the time, it's going to be very effective, and you're going to be able to do a lot with it and become really good at editing in Fortnite. So that's what I would do, if you, as long as you just keep that in mind when you're going for edits in game. And it's one of those things that you can practice all the time in creative, but you just have to keep it in mind when you're in game, because you're going to get shot out from multiple directions and different things like that. So of course you want to practice from all different angles, but just keeping that in mind every single time that you go for the edit is going to play a huge role in helping you guys edit more efficiently and more effectively. And so when I talk about improving your editing speed, I also like to talk about working on different edits that not everybody does every single time. And it doesn't have to be very complicated, but just trying different edits. So when you're editing a wall, most of the time you can try to edit different type of structures. You can try to edit just the bottom 3 squares, the bottom right 2 squares, bottom left, and then you can edit the top squares. Then you can also edit the top right or the top left. So there's definitely a lot of variations you can do when it comes to editing a wall. And you just want to practice doing all of them, because in game you never know, it could be the best option to edit one of the tops, especially if you're in a box and you're boxed in and you have a wall to your side. It might be very useful to edit the top 3 squares that I'm doing right here. And it doesn't always mean it's the best option, because as you guys who watch a lot of my gameplay, usually when I'm in a box, I'm going to be editing the top 3 squares, and there's a few reasons for doing so. It's a lot easier to close the edit and just for a lot of things like that. But if you're going for a challenge, it might just be in your best interest just to try to go for the 3 edit squares on the side and just kind of just go from the attack on that. But really, you definitely want to practice going on different edits, because there's going to be a lot of different things you guys want to practice. And so moving on to my next building and editing tip, the next thing I want to talk about is when it comes to editing your floor and pyramid, you want to start practicing editing your floor and pyramids like this. And I'm going to explain a few reasons why this can be very effective when it comes to editing fast and also being a lot more efficient in gaming, because I think that's the most important. So of course you can work on practicing when you edit the 2 on the right side or the 2 on the left side. It's going to make it so it's like this. But the problem with this is it doesn't break, and that's not always a bad thing. There's going to be a lot of situations where it might be very effective. Maybe you're just coming out of a box, but if you're trying to ramp up, and say you have a ramp in front of you and a ramp above you like this right here, and you place a cone and a floor, and if you do place the floor, if it's gonna be very difficult if you don't edit the 2 squares on top on the floor, because if you don't, it's gonna be very difficult to get the edit off on the pyramid. So you want to edit both the squares on both the floor and the pyramid. And the reason why you want to do it on the pyramid as well is because after you edit on the pyramid, it's gonna allow you to place another ramp above you and continue your building out. So that's just something that's very useful to practice, and there's a lot of implications and definitely a lot of situations in game in which you definitely would want to use this. So working on practicing this way is a lot more efficient, and it's going to help you guys out in game. And it can be a little bit more difficult to learn, because it does take a little bit more time to edit than just editing the 2 squares, because you do have to edit the 2 on both of them. So it takes a little bit more time, and you might have to start your edit a little bit earlier. But just for practice, if you ever need to, if it feels like it's very hard to do, you can just practice editing the cone instead, or just the cone, and just practice editing the 2 squares on the cone. And then once you get very good at that, then you can start placing the floor in there and then learn from there. And the reason for placing the cone there in the first place can be very important, because a lot of times, especially when I go for the cone place right there, I'm also going to place another cone that's just a ramp above me. So if I'm ramping out and someone's right on top of me, I can easily cone them, and as well I have another cone just in case they try to do anything else. And when it comes to editing faster, there's definitely a lot of other things that I haven't mentioned in this video that can be very helpful. Like working on harder edits could also make it a little bit more easy to work on easier edits in game, because in game you always want to try to go for the easiest edits possible, unless you're trying to go for a clip or something flashy. You just want to go for very simple edits that you know you can do. You don't want to go anything for too hard, because the harder you make it in game, the harder it is to complete the edit, and just be a lot more efficient in game when it comes to going for high kill games and just overall being very effective. So you don't always want to go for flashy edits. It's going to make it way more difficult than it needs to be. And a lot of times when you see these players in creative, they're going for some free builds and they look really good. Trust me, they sit in creative for hours and hours on end, and they don't make their line perfect every single time. It takes them a good at least a good 20 to 30 minutes just to get the line they wanted. So as you guys can see, a lot of people who are doing a lot of crazy builds, they choke their edits and builds all the time. So I wouldn't work on going for anything too flashy, but it could be very useful for actually just improving your overall building speed and also editing speed. And also, one last thing that I wanted to touch on in this video that might be very helpful for a lot of you guys, especially if you guys are on controller, because there is a thing called edit mode aim assist, and I'm going to make a whole video about this very soon, but I do have it on for those of you guys who are maybe curious if I have it on or not. It's something that's very useful, especially if you guys are playing a controller. I highly recommend turning it on. It might take just a little bit getting used to, but trust me, it's very effective and very useful, and it's called edit mode aim assist. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard about this for a while, and a lot of you guys do have it off. So it's just something that I turned on recently, and I think it's been very effective, and a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of really good builders and editors, have been saying that they started using it a lot more because it's very helpful and it helps them a little bit or be very more accurate when it comes to going for their edits. So that's what I would recommend turning on, and I might make a whole video about this very soon on exactly why you'd want to have it on and how it's just that much more effective. So that's something that I would have on and recommend you guys try. And with that being said, that's wrap up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, hope you guys liked it, and if you guys could, make sure you guys drop a like on this video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my notifications to be notified for every single new video, and alright guys, I'll see you next video.